here, as always, as we transition to a huge story in the world of college sports. A group of U.S. senators introduced new and wide-sweeping legislation Wednesday that aims to address many current issues in college sports. Some of the new rules proposed include one-time transfer rule, a maximum 5 years of athlete eligibility, prohibiting former pro athletes from playing in college sports. That seems obvious. Prohibits schools from poaching a coach from another school during the sports season. So with all that in mind, let's welcome in Paul Feinbaum. Paul, thank you for your time. Do you like what you're seeing and hearing from this new college sports bill?
Not really. This is the Lane Kiffin bill presented by Ted Cruz. And while there's a lot of good things in there, and I'll spare the nation from falling asleep going through every one of them, there's also so many restrictions, and I don't know how you stop all these things, because right now everything in college athletics is about going to your neighborhood judge and having him save your star's eligibility. And unless there is a sweeping antitrust part of this, and it's a very narrow one, I don't think it will matter. And quite frankly, just not to circumvent the conversation, but it is almost June. This is an election year, and I do not believe this bill is going to get very far.
Stephen A.
Well, you know, one of the architects and the chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, Senator Ted Cruz out of Texas, was a guest on my SiriusXM radio show yesterday for the last half hour, highlighting what he's been doing. And in fairness to him, he's been on this for years. This isn't some election year deal to him. He's been on the case about this since around 2019 or so. Obviously, he's working with other folks across the aisle. I think, you know, Democratic senators, Chris Coons out of Delaware, and Maria Cantwell out of Washington, just to name a few, working with them to get some of this stuff done. I don't like everything. He didn't either. The Democrats didn't either, but you got to get something on the books, because obviously he said something that was very, very alarming to me, Paul Feinbaum and Jay. He said that if we don't get something done to rein this in, he thinks that at least 25 to 50 universities would pretty much be extinct within the next 3 to 5 years. And I think that's something that you have to take very, very seriously. When they're talking about the financial structure and the makeup of the current system and the chaos that exists, and the fact that there seems to be no rules or regulations whatsoever to really, really govern things from a universal perspective, I think something has to be done. And then you've got the August 1st deadline that basically Trump has handed down before he's scheduled to sign, to issue some level of an executive order. We all know how polarizing that's going to be, because anything that involves Donald Trump, half the nation is going to disagree with. That's just the reality. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, there's no way around it. They've got to try and do something. And when you talk about 5 years of eligibility, okay, you talk about one-time transfer, because even though we want the players to have the right to transfer, right now, conceivably, if they wanted to, a player could play for 4 different universities in 4 different years. Now, that's ridiculous. We don't want something like that. You certainly want restricted movement on the part of coaches as well. Have the coach have to play by the same rules as the players to some degree. I think that, you know what, limiting to one transfer, I don't think that's bad. I was a proponent of having to sit out a year if you did transfer, me personally. There are some things that need to be taken care of, but in the end, what I've said, Jay, repeatedly is this, and Paul Feinbaum knows this. The chaos that exists, I think it's been on purpose. NCAA wanted it that way because they've been starving for government intervention. They want the government involved. They want to hide behind the government to get away with some of the stuff that they've gotten away with in the past. And so the only way to pull that off is to allow the chaos. But we need to understand why. There's a conservative justice appointed by Trump by the name of Brett Kavanaugh who called out the NCAA for their actions and their engagement in exploitation. And that's really what spearheaded all of this. So, Paul, I don't know if anything will get done, but I do think there's a chance something will get done. Me personally, that's what I believe. And I hope ultimately it leads to...
Can I just say one more thing, though? And I don't want to get political here, but when Stephen A. Smith is president on January 20th, 2029. I think a lot of this is going to calm down, don't you?
I, for one, would feel a lot better about the situation. Jay Well.
Stephen A. approves that message, Paulie. He approves it. Paulie, I wanted to get your opinion in SAU too on something that obviously there's a lot to dig into and on a lot of the mentions that you both were able to articulate. But one of the aspects of this was a Super League. And I believe that when you think about college football, it is one of the biggest under-monetized media businesses in American sports. It's one of the biggest under-monetized media businesses in sports. When you think about the most viewed sports in America, it leads with the NFL. Who do you think number 2 is? It's not the NBA. It's not the MLB. It's not the NHL.